a regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen today, September 16th, 2019. And we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item is approval of minutes from our September 3rd meeting.
Okay, I would move we approve the minutes of the September 3rd meeting with the following corrections. Page 4, last paragraph. The society, which is a 501c3, has been paying taxes between $15,000 and $18,000 on a building lot. I think that should be $15,000 and $18,000 over the course of several years, rather than give the impression that they're, I don't think they're paying that every year. I hope not. And then on page 5, last tax refunds, Joseph Chicky should be spelled C-S-I-K-I.
A second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Anyone present to speak, just identify yourself for the record.
My name is James McCoo. I'm at 34 Old Farms Road, and I just want to drop some things off to you tonight, and I'll let it go with that. I got in the information from the town attorney on the redacting, and I summarized it as to what is available to the townspeople and what is not. And if I may, I'll leave it for...
Absolutely.
And also in our discussion last meeting and in the minutes, selectmen boards had said two things that appeared in the minutes that I don't believe were correct. First, she said that there was a misunderstanding and that I am allowed to drill a well. That is not correct. These are the rejections from the health department and the lawyer's letter and the law site. She also said that the WIllington proposed agreement was essentially the same or comparable with the Tolland agreement. I know you have other business, but I just want to take a minute or two because I think that's quite an important matter at the moment. So I went over and I met with the head of their water commission, and I asked her to review the two agreements. Here's what she said. Tolland does not require a licensed engineer to do the design. It does not make annual inspections of users' home and would never inspect an area where water connections were not present. Also, since water usage is metered, they will not worry about users exceeding the norm since the meters would give them the use data and the users would be billed for additional use. If they did feel the need for inspections, they would not charge the homeowner. They do not consider the line hooking up the service to a home as an extension of the system. They don't limit the rights of the user to seek legal remedies if they have a dispute with the Water Commission. They do not require liability insurance as specified in the WIllington agreement, or do they require any other insurance. They would never expect potential users to sign an agreement where two of the provisions are blank to be filled in later by the town, as in the WIllington agreement. She made it clear that she does not want to get involved in a controversy in WIllington. But to my basic question about the similarity of the WIllington agreement to theirs, her answer was, we have nothing like this. And, let me see. I think I'll just kind of let it go with that for tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else present to speak? Okay. Next item is a status report. We're still waiting for a quote to move forward with sampling, either core sampling or visual inspection on the library, for pyrotite on the library and the senior center. To date, Donna, correct me if I'm wrong, it appears that we're returning approximately $184,000 from the 18-19 budget to the general fund. It looked like there might have been a couple things to clean up. Still sound right to you, Donna?
Okay, are we on status report?
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you have any idea now on the pyrotite? Where do we stand exactly on that? Have we contacted any company?
Yes, so Troy, who's heading that up, has reached out to a CROG-approved vendor and
Okay,
have asked for quotes on both just visual inspection and for testing, so that we can determine which of the two we want to begin with, and he's waiting for those to come back.
you have any idea we hope they can come back soon?
I hope they'll come back soon. I had hoped they would have been back last week. But as you can imagine, many of these engineers are very busy and booking well into the winter time on inspections. All right, new business. We'll start, no, I apologize. I skipped right over correspondence. That's why you're asking.
No.
So there's a list of correspondence in your packet, and they are all available in the selectman's office. There's two of them we'll speak about tonight. Okay, so Public Works. Troy reported that they've been doing continuing roadside mowing, sweeping up the chip seal. They pick up trash at River Road. They've installed rubber flaps on the dog pound for the dog doors, fixed washout at the town green. They picked up a couch and trash on Kutco Road. They cleaned the Public Works garage, dug out different waterways, patched holes around town, graded turnpike extension, and cleaned up tree and brush from the storm. At the last minute this afternoon, Troy did report that the radar signs that we bought, the portable signs, solar signs that will go to hope to help with speeding, have just come in, and he hopes to have them installed within a week. So, new business. I want to begin with presenting the Governor's Finance Officers Association Award to our Finance Department. And this is not just our Finance Department, but also the Office of the Treasurer. So with us this evening are Donna, our Business Manager, and Tish Ignatowicz, our former Treasurer, who was responsible for those duties during the course of the 17-18 fiscal year. So we received notice the end of August notifying us that our comprehensive annual financial report qualifies for the GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. I believe this is year 11. Maybe? Oh no, it may be more than that. This is more than year 11, 20 years. So as always, they do a wonderful job keeping track of our finances, reporting them as well. So I want to present the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Finance Reporting to our Finance Department, to Donna and Tish. So, can I give these to them? Ladies? You're welcome. Up and around. So informal over the table. Look, there's 2 awards, but thank you both for all that you do. Tish is not in that role, however, but she's still busy working in our finance department. And we look forward to having the same success next year. As you can imagine, it's not an easy task. so thank you. We like to start with our good news. Thank you both for coming out. Thank you for all you do. Do you have anything you'd like to share? Yeah.
It's Tisha's last year. That was my last capper.
That's her last capper. She's responsible for part of what I'm sure will be our success into the next year, as she was the treasurer for a good portion of that year. So you might see some kudos next year. All right, thank you both, and we won't be offended if you choose not to stay with us. It's a late night for some of us if these ladies start early on Mondays. So no offense taken. We have several tax refunds. I move to refund CCAP auto lease, a certificate of correction in the amount of $582.84.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I move to award Toyota Lease Trust a certificate of correction in the amount of $302.85.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I move to award Toyota Lease Trust a certificate of correction in the amount of $471.21.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I move to award Vault Trust a certificate of a correction in the amount of $259.97.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I move to award Vault Trust a certificate of correction in the amount of $401.28.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You want this one? I move to award Alefthenos Mousakakis, I got the last name, a certificate of correction in the amount of $17.75.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And lastly, I move to refund Enterprise Fleet Management Trust on the certificate of correction, $145.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Moving on. The next item is approving the MOU between the library board and the town for accounting services. We spoke about this over the course of a couple of meetings. The library board met on Tuesday the 10th and unanimously voted in favor of accepting the agreement as it was presented, which would begin October 1st. Our accounting department felt it was an easy clean break to begin at the beginning of a month, as they are paid monthly at the library, so they would end all of their finances in under 1 month to begin with us the next month.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between the town and library board for accounting services.
And I will second the motion.
Okay, discussion?
I understand that we have a new library director. Are we going to do this without his having any input or any say on it?
So he began today. I learned of his appointment last Tuesday. So I'm not sure that they spoke to him specifically. The assumption we made, they discussed this with him, but the discussion is between the board, or the decision is the library board. And the work that was done, most of the work that was done here was done by the library board and their treasurer, who at one time had a significant skill set, which is not a requirement to be on the library board or to be the treasurer. And that it became increasingly more difficult and then only exacerbated in the absence of a director at the library.
And that treasurer has since resigned, so the treasurer who's listed on here is a different person.
The treasurer is listed here as the current treasurer at the library.
Right, but the treasurer who did all the work has resigned from the board, so I will say I'm rather upset that the outgoing board appointed a new director, but they did. So, but now we come into things like this where I'm sure a new director might look at this and say, and he's the guy who's got to live with it. Should we give him, well, I know you want it done by October 1st, though, right? Or could this be retroactive to October 1st if it's not signed prior to then?
Listen, I think it's, if we're gonna do this, it's best to begin in a month. I think the longer we put it off, the longer we put off critical information that's not being captured there, things that they've had a lot of difficulties, and then this is a decision of the library board of directors. And they voted unanimously in favor. They worked closely with our finance department, and this is something that Donna brought to us as something that she'd like to see happen, as we're responsible for the P&L at the end of the fiscal year, and it was difficult to have accurate records, and this would make things a little bit more consistent.
Well, on the grounds that if there's any problems, we could always go back to step one, I guess.
There is language in there that speaks to a specific time frame in order to get out of it, and that if there could be another determined period of time if both parties agree. So if at any point both parties agree this is not working, we could give either a longer or shorter term. This is not something that we are locked into. It is a 5-year agreement, but there is a clause in there that allows for the procedure to be terminated.
What exactly was the motion again?
To approve the memorandum of understanding between the town and library board of directors for accounting services.
Okay, well, on those grounds, yes, I will vote to approve
So,
that.
any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, now we have the open space ordinance. Walter is planning to come down. Let's listen to Steve. Steve wants to come down. He may not have expected us to get to it. Walter, who is our assessor, wanted to speak to the ordinance and why he brought this forward to us in the first place. We did talk about adding language that said effective October 1, 2019. And the other,
So the only thing we added is the.
right, so I spoke with our attorney about adding language that would make it so that it was only moving forward, that it didn't affect other parcels. The reason Walter wants to speak to the board about that this evening is to help us to better understand why he doesn't feel that's the appropriate measure to take. So we'll consider moving forward. I apologize, our offices are still open, so he's still conducting business. Thank you, Robin. I hear him. Good evening. Walter, I mentioned that we had added 2 different drafts. One adding the effective date, simply October 1st, 2019, and the second with potential language that would be applicable only going forward, and that you wanted to speak as to why you believe that would not be
Sure.
in our best interest.
My point of view is, when I first brought this issue up, is there was ambiguity in the application of the ordinance, and I was looking for a strict interpretation of the ordinance so it could be applied equally among all the taxpayers. Because clearly right now it's not being applied equally. So if there's a ordinance that has a grandfather clause to allow the people that had been receiving it, apparently erroneously, if you go back to the notes and the intent of the prior bodies, whether it be the Board of Selectmen or the POCD, that it was always clearly meant to be at least 5 acres. So if you grandfathered it in, you are creating that, you are keeping that inequity going forward into perpetuity, because right now, the law allows for transfer of property between family members to keep the clock running on without resetting the clock. So there would be no, so if you kept that property in your family, you could keep it in the inequity going for over 100 years, you know. So we want to end that. The second thing you have to think about is, what's the purpose of the open space policy in town, and what was the intent? Well, the intent was that they wanted a larger tracts of land to keep the character of the town rural in nature. And you are, by grandfathering it in, you are actually harming that goal of what the intention of the ordinance was in the first place. Now, people that own contiguous parcels that are under the 5 acres would have the opportunity to combine these pieces to make the 5 acres, so they could keep it going on into the, you know, from this day forward, October 1st forward. Another concern that the town may have is, do they have a right to do this? Well, there was a court case that I was personally involved in called Mackholtz versus the town of Bloomfield that dealt with this issue exclusively, about the issue of open space or farmland and the right of the town to change their rules regarding open space. And with the POCD, they're allowed to change it at their whim. And the court case clearly said that the governing body of the town has the opportunity to make that change. And that is settled law with the court.
Okay.
So
And so in the past, the assumption to some was, taking in reference to POCD, that they had to have 5 acres. But if it was granted to someone who had, say, 4.5 or even 3 acres, it was just simply at the whim of the current assessor?
yes, and my interpretation of that, it was done erroneously. So what you're asking the assessor's office to do is carry forward what I believe would be a clear mistake into the future, when we have an opportunity to correct it from the October 1st, 2019 grant that's going forward.
I'm not sure why changing this. Okay, if somebody has 3 acres and it's an open space, and we take it out of open space, that will increase his taxes.
Roughly $30 per acre.
But what harm does it do to the town? You know, it's still gonna be open space unless he decides to develop it, which,
Right.
in case they have to take it out of open space anyway.
Right, but there's inequities that are built in because they're getting open space and other people have applied and been turned down. So now there's the have and the have-nots in town, and that's not fair either.
Right, to this point, they were, and we know we had someone at our last meeting speak to it, and that's a lot of how it became on our radar, is they had wanted to apply but didn't have 5 acres and were told they were not eligible with 4.81 acres, and that there were already existing applicants who received the open space designation with well under 4.81 acres. Yes, sir. So identify yourself for the record.
Pete Tanaka, 125 Mason Road. Does this have anything to do with whether that open space is contiguous to other open space? Because I can see like 4.81 acres in the middle of the city as not being open space, consider 5 acres of open space. But if that 4.81 acres is connected to 600 acres of state forest, that would, I would think that that would be a valuable open space. I don't know if that's written in or not, and I'm just, I'm coming into the middle of this.
Sure, Pete, no, currently there's no provision for that. That would be under PA 490, forest. Forestry. So it would be 25 acres, and then we talk about continuous acreages, and you have to have at least 10.
Or
But for open space, there's no continuous acreage. So their only opportunity, if they had under 5 acres, would be if they had a contiguous piece and combined it in.
right.
And they could do that through a deed
Okay.
or survey.
Do I recall, maybe, but did I see that there was a parcel that somehow came into being that was something like 1.34 acres?
I do have some small pieces in
And
town.
that is in open space.
Right,
And in this particular case, it would have to come out of open space.
right.
Okay. And then what do I do with my 1.34 acres if it's not mine, but if it happens to be mine? My taxes would go up on it, obviously.
About $30 per acre.
Okay, my taxes would go up on it, however. And what have I gained for the privilege of paying these increased taxes? I still can't do anything with it, it's still too small to be a building. So, I'm glad that we're trying to be fair to the gentleman who had 4-point-some acres and he didn't get the open space, and so if he didn't, nobody else should get it either. But I don't see that we're going to go, somehow every time we try to be fair, anytime a governmental entity tries to be fair, it always costs the taxpayer. It's never being fair to give it back to the taxpayer.
Could you make it fair just by reducing that number to 1 acre?
Well, so I think the whole idea was that we put something in writing that was in keeping with our POCD, which was the number that the people look at that and said we needed 5 acres. And when there is, in absence of an ordinance, that's not what has to be given, but that's the intent. So that's how people with smaller acreage pieces were allowed eligibility to be designated open space, because there was no language contrary to smaller parcels. And so whomever was the assessor at the time could say yes to you and no to you with really nothing to back up those decisions.
And I want to be clear, as the assessor, I have no skin in the game on what the amount is. I just want a set of
He wants to
rules.
set,
Then
he
you
wants
go
to
to
set
apply.
something. So when he says yes or no to
That's all
something,
I
there
want.
is something behind it and something that speaks to. And the reason Walter came to us specifically saying 5 was because that's what's written into the POCD. And so then when we went back to planning and zoning, they felt that that number was in keeping with the POCD, which is something that's drafted by the town. So we've decided that's what we want. Look, I have mixed feelings, John, on going forward. Walter and I discussed this earlier this evening, the pros and cons of not grandfathering these pieces in, which is why he's here to explain to us why he feels that is not in the best interest. But if someone was given that designation with no set of rules in place, I have
No.
mixed feelings as to, you know, how we take that away.
So in Summers, when I started as the assessor in Summers, the POCD said open space started after 1.84 acres, which was the building lot. But the building lot could be 1 acre, so we had 0.84 as excess residential. And then open space could be after 1.84 acres. Well, that was misapplied over the years, and some people were getting it after 1.84 acres, and some people were getting it after 1 acre. And for the 2016 grand list, notification went out to the entire people, 379 people were affected, and we put the 0.84 acres in excess residential land, and then anything else remained in open space, and it costs the taxpayers about $40 in Summers. But now we have an equal playing field for anybody that applies, reapplies. Everybody knows the rules and they're applied equally. That's all I'm asking for in Willington, is that we have one set of rules for everybody and we apply them across the board. Whatever the rules are, and you have wide berth in setting up the rules as a governing body of the town.
Well, I'm willing to go along with this in setting a level playing field for the future. But for the people who were lucky enough or whatever to get this in the past, I think it's unfair now to yank it out from under them, especially in the cases like that 1.34 acres where they gained nothing. I'm not sure even why, if I owned it, I'd probably just not pay the taxes at all and let the town worry about it. But I'm not in that spot, so I without the grandfathering clause, I can't support this.
So I'll share with you, I'm not all that thrilled about how it's written, the language that is added in blue. And not because it grandfathers, but because I don't think it reads very clear. And it reads effective October 1, 2019, and applicable to any and all new applications made from that date forward. This ordinance shall not apply to any parcels of record recorded prior to the effective date noted above. I'm just not sure about that last sentence. Yes, sir. Just take your name for the record.
Robert Gillen, 38 Lucerne Drive. Just sort of an observation and a question. Would it be possible, since Walter came and brought this, you know, with hopefully a fixed date when it would be enacted, would it be possible to wait until there was a full board of selectmen to further discuss and to vote on this particular thing? Because now, particularly since I've seen, was it 397 people?
In Summers, 379.
Oh, in Summers, oh, okay.
In
Do you
Summers,
do you have any idea how many in town here, roughly?
that are under the,
Yeah, that are already in, you know, the set agreement.
it's a much smaller number,
Much smaller?
15, 20, you know.
Total or just
No,
under the 5 acres?
Under the 5 acres.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'm not advising, you can do what you want, but I think it would be proper to have a full complement on the Board of Selectmen to further discuss this and hopefully to bring it to some resolution.
Thank you. So as you know, Mr. Gillen, just about anything is possible.
Yes, I
So,
do know that.
I think this will be the first time we will have seen it with this language. Both of us, I got it maybe an hour, 2 hours prior to this meeting, and just didn't, you know, reading that last sentence, it seems, it just doesn't seem very clear to me. That if we wanted to to look at that again and give us an opportunity to take a look at it now with language that was more than just the effective date. I think it's important to take into consideration the reasons, and I appreciate Walter sharing those concerns with us. So I move to table I pause because although the town attorney has advised that yes, it's possible, if we take this to town meeting, we're going backwards. And if we table this, our next meeting is until October 7th. We have a town meeting we're looking at several days after that, a couple of weeks after that. They have applications in their office
But
ready
that
for
would-
October 1st.
That wouldn't harm me
Okay,
if you went to the middle of October
Okay.
or so.
that's
That would
important for
not,
us to
that would not harm
consider.
us.
Okay,
You would still, if you had any applications available for this, you would notify the person that you were considering it with this pending, due October 1st, right?
Well, the applications are due, but the grant list doesn't have to be signed until January 31st. So there's a period of time where the decision can be made with an effective date back to October 1st, implemented. So we would have plenty of time to carry out whatever the Board of Selectmen decided.
all right, so with that, I will make a motion to table this item to October 7th.
We
Is it
must do
6 or
so.
7? You can take a look at it. If you have any suggestions for additional language, you can get them to Robin. Appreciate it.
I think we must do so, so I will second that motion.
Any other discussion? Walter, thank you for sharing your concerns.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And with that, that brings us to good and welfare. I have an update from the flag display committee. I will admit, our road looks a little less vibrant with the flags down, but they will be going back up. So the flag committee has met 4 times and was able to make contact with all the homeowners from Senior Way to the town library in Route 320. A total of 36 flags were put up for Memorial Day and left up until after the 4th of July. As of Monday, May 27th, 32 flags have been purchased by townspeople or organizations. 4 flags were purchased and displayed last year. In order for all poles along the routes to have flags, a total of 34 flags are needed. Contact was made with BJ's in Manchester and they sponsored a flag, and 24 additional flags were purchased at $750.41. Later, 6 more were purchased. The committee assembled to put the flags up on Saturday, May 18th. A total of 31 flags were put up at that time, with additional ones going up later. If additional funds are obtained, then additional flags will be purchased and displayed. A number of positive comments were received while the flags were displayed. If additional funds are secured beyond what is needed for the 34 poles, consideration will be given to putting flags up from the library to the cemetery next year. A total of 16 more flags would be needed for that. While flags were displayed, a number were damaged, wind or vehicles going too close, and most of those were on 74. So 4 flags were repaired and re-hung, and 1 flag was lost. We'll raise the flags from the 10-foot height to 12-foot height. 2 of the flags on the town green were also damaged. 1 was able to be repaired and 1 was replaced with one of the newer flags. It would be best, easier, if all the flags are the same. The ones in the town green and the 2 on Senior Way have plastic based, and those will deteriorate over time. So Mr. Monti had spoke to me about the need for us to potentially change the holder that we have ours in, because those are ones the town was funding. So this respectfully submitted Phil Monti flag display chair. And I'll note that Joe Rondo and Joe Chicky are also committee members. So I want to thank them. The flags will be going back up prior to Veterans Day, and they will stay up till just after Veterans Day. Our animal control officer, Tina Binheimer, asked me to share with you that on August 11th, 2019, Matthew Eastman, I'll share this with you, A Boy Scout troop 15 in Tallinn completed his project to earn his Eagle Scout. Part of this project was to make and erect a sign for Wellington Animal Control. He did some landscaping around in the area where the sign was erected. As part of the project, Matt attended meetings with the Wellington Board of Selectmen as well as working with the zoning office in order to build the sign to town specs. She'd like to thank Matt for his dedication to helping others as well as everyone who assisted him with this project. We wish him luck on his future endeavors. I too would like to thank Matthew for his hard work and the scouts that came out to help him. If you head up to the transfer station, you will see the sign that clearly marks our animal shelter. So thank you to Matt and congratulations on his Eagle Scout. All right, so from Troop C, we received during the month of August, Troop C troopers responded to 584 calls for service in the town of Wellington. Of these calls of service, the most notable were 12 accidents, 17 criminal investigations, 2 burglaries, 2 larcenies, and 552 non-reportable matters. In addition to the above, they conducted the following motor vehicle enforcement: 4 DUIs, 175 traffic citations, and 66 written warnings.
How
Continuing.
much money did we get?
Yeah.
Last year we received about 13, it was approximately $13,000.
Wow.
Okay. For the year or for the
That
month?
was for the year.
Oh.
Oh, please, that may be. Mr. Rishinsky, I know you asked last time. And I don't know that I'll be able to see the email from.
Does that go into the general fund or into a special fund?
Goes into a specific fund. Our treasurer did answer that question. I'm not ignoring you, I am looking for her email, her emailed response. Okay. She found a fourth quarter payment of $13,130 for the fiscal year in fine revenue. So that's what Diane reported to me on August 20th. So the fourth quarter payment from the 18-19 fiscal year was $13,130.
So that'll go into the general fund then?
I believe it is in the general fund. She just said in fine revenue. I don't believe it's in its own revenue source. We'll clarify that. So.
Did you ever find out about the signs that were supposed to say, "Welcome to Wellington"? The people donated money to years back?
That kind of fizzled out.
Somebody had
You
asked
know what
me
happened to the
about
money?
that.
I don't think we got any money.
Yeah, I know we did.
We did,
I know I sent a check from the
It's
VFW.
been, how many years?
a long
Well-
time. What happened was a committee was formed, but there was like 4 people on it
I
and
remember
they.
Butch Lytle was working on that, wasn't he?
No, I think it was Tyler Millett, Dominic Brusha.
I'm not sure.
Uh,
I was better than I
She's
should.
pretty good.
Those are the only 2 I can remember on it. And and I'm sure there were other people, but it's just because they never even met. Because they were supposed to scope out.
But we had donations earmarked specifically for that.
Yeah,
Will you just jot that down and we'll see if we can,
Well, I'm just
where it
wondering
is,
if it's gonna
if it's earmarked, or if it went into.
come up
A general
alive
fund.
again or something, you know?
signs of all kinds were making, they made the prototype, the one that's outside the front door.
Okay. We're looking for someone still?
Oh, yeah.
Did you not?
Water, yeah.
Okay, so Connecticut Water, let's see, we had a resident, Connecticut Water, works with local communities. They have a water system advisory committee established in 2014 under an agreement with the town of Mansfield, where they were selected to provide long-term water supply for the university and the Mansfield community. We had representation on that with someone from the Conservation Commission. However, we're looking for someone to take their place. We shared this with the Conservation Commission, so if anyone is interested, please contact the Selectman's office. And I'll give my usual pitch, that we're looking for a CIP recording secretary. We're looking to begin in December, toward the end of December, so if you're interested, please contact the selectman's office. Do you have anything for the welfare, sir? With that, I move to adjourn at 7:15.